Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Franchise Interviews on this Tuesday, March 18th, 2008. Today you're going to get to hear from Sam Naficy of DTT, and Sam is the CEO and founder of DTT Surveillance, and DTT is a leading provider of video surveillance to 20,000 restaurants. If you ever walk into a local McDonald, Subway, Burger King, or any number of franchises, chances are you've been watched and observed and tracked by security cameras and software from DTT. So this is a two segments. This is the first part of a two-segment interview, and I think you're going to enjoy this one. Here we go. And Sam is the CEO and founder of DTT, and DTT is a leading provider of video surveillance to over 20,000 restaurants. And as Don was saying earlier, if you ever walked into a McDonald's, a Subway, a Burger King, or any number of franchises, chances are you've been watched, observed, and tracked by security cameras and software by DTT. DTT has equipped, serviced, and supported more than, 20,000 clients. Everyday software provided by DTT handles over 6 trillion frames, protects $800 billion in assets, and oversees in excess of 1 million employees. Hey, Sam, good morning. Welcome to the show today.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you doing today, Sam?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, Sam. Joining us is my co-host, Don Johnson. And, Don, I know you wanted to say hi to Sam.
Yeah, Sam, appreciate you coming on the show. I could have used you about 8 years ago, Sam. I used to own a food business, a Stewart's Root Beer, kind of similar to an A&W. We had theft all over the place.
Wow. Yeah, sorry the technology wasn't that rampant then.
Exactly, yeah. See, Don and I read an article, I think it was last month from the Los Angeles Business Journal. It was called, I'm sure you've seen it, Eye on You.
Yeah.
And, the article started off by saying from 2 computer screens at his home office, Bob Grewal can monitor exactly how much change his customers get back at his 12 Subway stores in L.A. Data from his cash registers roll across the screen like subtitles as images captured from 4 cameras at each store flow on streaming media. He says, our money never comes up short now. Employees know that they're being watched 24/7. So it's certainly one less thing that a franchisee has to worry about, So it's such a great service. So Don and I were so excited to have you on the show today.
Well, thank you. We're excited to be on.
Tim, what were you doing before starting DTT Surveillance? I know you've been called, I've read your bio, they've called you actually a serial entrepreneur.
Well, I was a third-year law student here in L.A. at USC and was nibbling and nabbling at a bunch of different entrepreneurial opportunities. I've always been fascinated by the whole franchise concept. It's such an American business model, and I really fell in love with it coming to the States in '84. And I always wanted to own my own 10, 15 McDonald's or Subways or whatever. And when I partnered up with my original partner in '99 for this business, technology was booming. It was the really this initial foray of the internet. And we said, well, instead of owning 10 restaurants or whatever concept we'd go after, why don't we come up with a technology to sell to millions?
Right.
And it was really the advent of digital recording on computer hard drives, and where digital surveillance really started taking off. And we went to the other side of franchising. Instead of owning them, we started selling to them.
So it seems like you kind of hit it at the right time. Your approach to selling this to the franchise industry plus the high-end technology. Because you mentioned you started this in '99, Sam?
Yeah, we started in April '99, and typical to form, McDonald's tends to be the leader in accepting new technologies and really jumping on board and believing in it, and they were the first, and they still remain by far our largest client.
Yeah.
And they were the biggest adopters of this very early on. And then when broadband really proliferated, 2001, 2, 3, and DSL and broadband and T1 and cable, the different mediums of broadband delivery became, readily available. Other concepts jumped on.
Interesting.
Sounds like the big change in the industry, Sam, was I guess it's gone from tape to digital. I was watching on your website. It seems like the video is very clear.
Right.
Where in the old days, I guess it was kind of foggy, so you can say, and that's where you guys kind of were able to identify a need.
Right. I think the difference was that in the old days, there was 2 big differences really. One was that it was something called time-lapse recording. Mm-hmm. So you'd record, one frame every 8 seconds.
Right.
Meaning you'd see the guy's hands in the drawer. The next screen you see is he's running out the door.
Absolutely.
There was no fluidity. There's no fluidity to the screen. And then the fact that you have to use videotapes. So those were the two really big impediments. Digital technology allowed, A, not to need videotapes or change videotapes on a regular basis, and create fluid recording. And we now record, 30 frames a second versus those days that they would record, one frame every 8 seconds.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, how about also like close-ups? When the old model was just from a distance, looking at, say, someone at a cash register. Now, I assume you can close in and get different angles and really have the whole restaurant covered.
Correct. I mean, you could go as high-end as, cameras that are used in airports in Vegas that are called pan-tilt zoom cameras that are manually zoomed in and you can get great shots. It tends to be cost-prohibitive for the franchise world that we focus on, which is exclusively the restaurant hospitality space. We tend to give them in areas that they want to focus on. For example, over the cash register system, we put 2 cameras, one that is looking within extreme proximity of the drawer,
right,
and gets the close-up shot, and a second that has the global view of that environment. So those 2 cameras could show the transaction on a high level with the 2 people, the employee and the customer, talking or doing the transaction. The second camera is looking actually at the register, the denomination of currency being transacted.
It's incredible.
And it must just give that franchisee just such peace of mind, knowing they can leave. That's what I didn't like being in the food business, just personally, with the business being open so many hours, you can't be there all the time. And when you leave, you have a whole restaurant full of employees, and with money flying all around, it's just very nerve-wracking. I'd love to have had your type of system.
Oh, absolutely.
It's funny. I just have a very dear friend who's a franchisee of a very well-known concept. We'll leave the name. No reason to talk about the name right now, but he was really adverse to getting this technology and said, well, my manager is great. He doesn't do anything. He's been with me for 8 years. Why do I need this? Why do I need this? And I kept telling him, just let's put it in. Let's put it in. Don't even worry about the paying for it. I think you'll find some tremendous things. And he said, well, no, this concept is really close on their inventory. If he was stealing from me, the franchisor would know.
Right.
And they would tell me that I'm missing this. I finally made him relent, and we put it in about 6 weeks ago. And he realized that there was a large transactional count of employee meals. He only had, let's say, 10 employees working at any one time, while employee meal transactions were about 40.
Amazing.
He realized that same manager who he loved is punching in employee meals on the register, putting in $2-3 in, collecting 8 from the customers.
Can you imagine?
So the inventory count is still the same.
Right.
The franchisor is seeing 10 or 30 or 40 breads missing, which is correct because there was that many employee meals. So the POS totals match the inventory totals, but the owner is getting 30 cents on the dollar.
Incredible.
It's like your system really pays for itself.
Just very quickly, yeah. I mean, on insurance, on workers' comp, on liability reductions, on mitigating lawsuits. And so there's a lot of different avenues that we pitch this, and it's become compelling enough now that most franchise circulars have made this a mandatory product.
Right. Yeah, the ROI, I imagine, Sam, as you were saying, is very quick. You know, it's not something that takes years to get your money back. You know, so I imagine the insurance companies are big advocates of this kind of service as well, Sam.
Huge. I mean, they give, usually most insurance companies give about a 20% discount for workers' comp and liability insurance. And we literally had 2 cases of this very recently. Again, having such a large client base in one narrow niche, you see a lot of different examples frequently. One was a chain in Los Angeles of restaurants who was having a lot of convenient slip and falls in the walk-in freezers.
Right.
The insurance company actually came to us and said, would you mind, at our cost, putting 2 freezer cameras inside the walk-in freezer?
Right.
Lo and behold, they caught a ring of employees that were suing these owners for slip and falls.
Could you imagine?
And collecting $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000 each time.
Yeah, even on your website too, Sam. I was watching one woman. I guess she was getting soda or something like that. It was a couple weeks ago. I was watching it, and she fraudulent slip and fall. You know?
she claimed that she had broken her left elbow.
Right.
When the fire department came, she forgot it was the left. She said it was the right.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different scenarios too, Sam. You look at your website. There's office break-ins. There's disgruntled customers. As you mentioned, theft. Subway food preparation. That was another one. That I was watching. It's just so there's just so many reasons why a franchisee would want this kind of service.
Right. I mean, it's the integration with the point-of-sale system, the employee management, the employee training, the customer service portion. I mean, a lot of people forget that in many ways it could vindicate and exonerate customers if they have an issue with a bad employee.
Absolutely.
Back on the tape, yeah.
Right, and then the remote management aspect of it. There was a store in Los Angeles again, and that had a murder robbery about 4 months ago at about midnight, and customer's a very good personal friend of mine and the company's, and it was a crime scene, so he couldn't go in. They wouldn't let him in. He logs in remotely, gets all the video, submits it to the police department, to his lawyers and insurance company.
Incredible.
In the old days, you couldn't.
Exactly.
So it sounds like, Sam, it's mandatory. Anybody opening up a Subway, they have to put the system in. That's dictated by Subway. It's not up to the franchisee.
Correct. Again, I would love Subway to get there to make it mandatory. Subway, for example, has not yet made it, but they constantly talk about it. We don't know of a single Subway that is opening that does not put it in.
Right.
But again, it is at least so far at the moment, it is still a discretionary item as it applies to Subway. But again, from our the relationship, we're the exclusive provider worldwide for Subway. From our interaction with them, it looks like they do put it in the new restaurants, and the overwhelming majority of the old ones that either had nothing or had videotapes are changing it to the digital restaurant-specific solution, is what we call it.
Yeah, to me it's a no-brainer. I mean,
absolutely.
It's something, forget about the whole theft aspect, just, pending lawsusuits, as you talked about earlier. I mean, it's unfortunate in this world, that's just reality, and you might as well have it all on tape, and it can cut out a lot of headaches. Right.
I mean, just think about one application that we have really now integrated in the last month or so is our new Smart View application, which besides the point-of-sale integration, it also now integrates time and attendance. And you can imagine these young kids that work in these restaurants, they could be potentially messing around with their time clocks and friends clocking for their friends. Now we get a real-time snapshot of the timesheet of the person and the person clocking in and out.
It's incredible. It's just one less thing that as we mentioned earlier, a franchisee has to worry about. I'm sure these were things, Don, when you had your stewards, that you constantly worried about.
Right. Yep. That's why we soon sold the business. Just have a family member over there. I can tell you a lot of funny stories. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, I wish we would have had this whole system in place. It would have slept a little better at night. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have bar applications, that we do for nightclubs and bars that have two really important factors. One is making sure the pour is the pour they're doing. A lot of bartenders might pour, Blue Label for their buddies and charge Jack and Coke.
Right, absolutely.
Blue Label is a $20 shot drink, and Jack and Coke is a $7 shot drink. The house loses $13 each time.
Exactly.
So the franchisee or the owner of that bar could make Blue Label an exception item.
Absolutely.
Or make Jack an exception item. Every time that particular item is rung up, he can get a video verification of it.
That's incredible.
Or we have an application for bars, for nightclubs and gentlemen's clubs and things like that have cover charge. Right. A lot of times those door guys, the doormen, pocket a lot of that. Now we have something that's called a people counter. So the perimeter of the entrance to the place is mapped out electronically. And every person that walks in, we count. So when the doorman at the end of the night puts in 100, entrants at $10 each, there should be $1,000 in the drawer. We have a count that should match that.
Right.
So it's a great, way that nightclub owners could make sure that cover charge is accurately taken in.
That's incredible. What's the most interesting thing that's happened to you, Sam, since starting DTT? I imagine you have great stories every single day.
Yeah, I think, again, that going back to my entrepreneurial, spirits, which really all franchising is all about.
Yeah.
I think the growth of this baby, it was a 2-person employee, and now we have 200-some employees, pretty substantial national coverage, really one of the premier players within the restaurant space.
Certainly.
And that's been gratifying to help to see a lot of these employees come in really at very lower levels and grow and mature with the business, and now have a lot of people reporting to them. And it's very similar to the concepts we deal with. We have a concept in the South. It used to be called Raving Brands.
Right.
Out of Atlanta, Moe's is their flagship concept, and Focus Brands just recently bought them.
Right.
But the point was, they were a 30-location chain when we partnered with them. As they grew to 300, 400, 500 sites, we grew with them.
Exactly.
So it's a great little thing that to see our business grow as the franchisee, our clients grow.
Absolutely. Yeah, Don and I were talking a couple weeks back, Sam, about, we were referring to the Wendy's case, like if Wendy's had something like this technology, where the woman claimed that she found, what was it, on a finger?
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
There's just a lot of crazy people out there just looking to, fraudulently sue a franchise, because behind that franchise is millions and millions of dollars, so it's got to be one thing that a franchisee constantly worries about is just getting sued. So
yeah.
I just think it really helps you sleep so much better at night.
I agree. The shocking thing to me as an owner of the business is, why is it not even more prevalent, accepted? Why is it not mandatory by every concept?
Exactly.
It's shocking to me. We package our product on a subscription basis. So it's about $4, $5 a day. It's about $140 a month for all the services I've mentioned. That's the basic 4-camera package. That includes installation, service, everything. And for concepts to shy away from $4 a month a day is bizarre to me. But it's
a no-brainer.
Yeah,
it really is a no-brainer.
Right, and it's still, some of the big boys have really taken to it, and some of the other concepts don't have any. It's mind-boggling.
Absolutely. I was going to say, your salespeople must have a ball selling this thing, Sam, because, it's so easy to believe in, the type of concept. And when you put it like that, you say, my God.
Well, don't tell them that. I'm still
so
disappointed in their performance.
Absolutely. Yeah. So were you able to stick around for another segment?
Of course.
That's fantastic.